I dropped out of my brother's wedding party because he and his fiancé disrespected me. I am at a total loss and looking for some outside opinion. That's us, outside opinion. Please bear with me because it's an extremely long story over the course of many years, but I need to know if I'm in the wrong here. You gotta go into like the births to understand this story. It all started when my 29 female brother, Tim, 25 male, went to college and met Brad, 27 male. When they met, Tim was 18 and Brad was 20. They were both in the university's band and they ended up having a lot in common and getting along well. By the way, this comes from Rogue Carl, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. So by the end of fall semester, they were officially boyfriends, and our family met Brad shortly after. I also want to emphasize that Tim being gay has zero impact on any of our feelings about the situation. Just want to clarify, since some people are hella and might assume. Oh, he's like, I'm not. He just. Anyway, Brad seemed great, and most importantly, he made Tim happy. Late in spring semester, Tim had a pretty bad falling out with his roommates and his college friend group. Apparently, one of Tim's roommates had asked Tim to not have Brad in the room every night, and Tim got pretty hostile in response. And Brad continued to go to their tiny dorm room every night. Classic college. I know these types. I've witnessed these types. This led to Tim being essentially dropped as a friend by his roommates and the rest of their friend group. The next event is the catalyst that set us on the path to where we are now. Tim is in his year 4 of his 6-year program, and he's struggling being in such a difficult program. His fall semester grades now depend on how well he does in his finals. November 2021, Brad asks my mom to lunch and says he has something really important to tell her. Ooh! I let her know it sounds like he wants to propose, and she laughs it off because Tim is deep in the weeds of his education and has a couple more years of hard work to go and really can't afford a distraction. Well, as I predicted, Brad tells my mom he has a ring and he intends to propose. He has a plan. He and Tim will go for a weekend away with Brad's family. Turns out he's planning the getaway for the weekend before Tim's finals. He also tells my mom that the proposal is a secret and we cannot mention it to Tim. My mom is completely shocked and doesn't know how to react in the moment. We later both separately text Brad expressing our concerns that Tim should finish school before getting engaged so he can really enjoy every part of the wedding process. We even very subtly asked him at Thanksgiving what he would think about getting engaged at this point in his life. And he states there is a girl in his program who is engaged and he thinks it's insane. Get Brad over here. Get him on the phone. Just record that. However, Tim goes away for the weekend. Tim fails his finals and then has to repeat an entire semester. I'd be freaking pissed at Brad.
So did he actually propose?
He must have. I think that's what it's implying. Yeah. After Christmas, Brad and Tim walk through the door with champagne and inform my parents they're engaged. My mom is shocked considering Tim's response about getting engaged. She does not react well, and Tim is deeply hurt by this. I attempt to smooth everything over by being excited for the two of them. I am my brother's biggest cheerleader and I love him very much. I support him no matter how I feel about his decision. After about a year, I tell Tim and Brad I would love to throw them an engagement party once Tim graduates to kick off wedding planning and really celebrate them. I do love to host parties, so this was my way of wanting to show my support. I tell them I'm thinking next spring since it's currently summer and Tim will not graduate until December. When I say this, they're shocked at the suggested date, saying it's so far in the future. I'm confused by this, since Tim is still a full-time student without an income. I am still not sure how he will pay for any wedding expenses, but we move on. Meanwhile, my parents have one request for Tim, that he waits until my wedding is over to start having his own wedding events. He agrees and says he would never do such a thing. Some background, I am 4 years older than Tim and also have a long-term partner. I finished college the year before he started college, and I had been many years into the workforce but when I got engaged. There is no form of sibling rivalry due to our age gap, and Tim and I have a great relationship. The next wedding update we get from them is telling us they are throwing an engagement party 4 weeks before my wedding. Why? That's so messed up. Come on. I just don't understand because it's like 1 month. You can't wait 1 month? Seriously?
Literally.
I am confused why they would do this, but mostly disappointed they picked a date that I couldn't attend since it was so close to my wedding and we were very busy with wedding planning of our own. Tim and Brad assured me they completely understood why I can't make it and it's okay with them. My parents are very annoyed since Tim promised them he wouldn't plan any wedding events until my wedding was over. Like, how can you be this just rude and like inconsiderate?
Especially since she was so excited about like doing that party for them.
You wanted to help out.
And they're like, actually, thank you for offering, but you actually can't.
You can't even come, actually. Thanksgiving 2023 comes around. I do not remember the specifics of how we arrived at the discussion. I think I was again trying to ask questions to be supportive. Tim and Brad drop a bit of a bomb on us. They inform us at the dinner table they have booked a wedding venue, and they toured the venue and booked it months ago, in August 2023. What? They have also booked vendors such as catering, etc. My parents and I are shocked. We have not been told any of this. They made this wedding plans months ago and kept it a secret. At this point, I have asked for updates many times. This has definitely rocked our family. We try to talk it out once again, but we cannot seem to see eye to eye. We try to move on and continue being supportive. The good news is Tim has finally graduated from his university program. Okay, there we go, something. He had to do an additional semester due to the fail finals incident mentioned previously, but we were all ecstatic he had graduated and can finally focus on things other than schoolwork. And most excitingly, he can get a full-time job and finally have an income to do fun stuff like travel, etc. In January 2024, Tim texts me and my parents to tell us he wants to get together soon as he has some exciting news to share. We assume he's finally gotten a job. It turns out Tim's good news was not a job. In fact, at this point, he doesn't seem very interested in finding a job.
Uh-oh.
Tim's big news is asking me to be his maid of honor. That's pretty big news.
I was so scared that they were going to like elope or something. I would be so sad.
I am honored despite all that has happened because I love my brother and I am so excited to stand up with him on his wedding day. I am determined to make an impact on his wedding experience by making it special for him. He is very passive and I'm nervous at this point that he's being agreeable, and it seems most of their ideas have come from Brad. Now that I have officially been asked to be involved, I want to ensure Tim feels as special as his partner. Brad also has a sister named Kim, and he has chosen her as his maid of honor. They also will be having a large wedding party, though they clarify only myself and Brad's sister will stand up for the ceremony. I do notice that every person in the wedding party is Brad's friend, who Tim later became friends with. In hindsight, this is because Brad had isolated Tim from any friends he had.
No.
That was clear from the beginning of the friends being like, hey, you're having Brad over a lot. Just like if we could have some boundaries. Brad was probably like, that's ridiculous that they would ask you that.
Yeah.
I once again worry about Tim having enough support. It is then decided that Brad's sister, Kim, will plan the bachelor party while I plan the wedding shower. I believe this was decided because I originally offered to throw them an engagement party, and I am happy to throw the shower. Over the next 6 months, I asked them several times for any requests or specific requirements for the shower, and they have vague answers every time. I do not get a clear answer from them until August 2024. This is where everything falls apart. It's not already falling apart? This is just the beginning? Dang, man. August 2024. Tim and Brad have just moved into Brad's childhood home together. This is another story entirely. They invite my parents, my husband, and I over for a housewarming type dinner. Everything goes well. And before we leave, I bring up the shower planning since it really needs to be decided soon. I have a few ideas in my mind and plan to host at my house and order catering. I can't really afford to book out a venue and catering is a little costly, but I'm happy to do it. For reference, my house is about 20 minutes from Brad's hometown where they now live. Tim and Brad then inform me that I need to invite every single person on their wedding guest list to the shower, 80 people.
Oh, wow.
And that the shower must be held at a venue in Brad's hometown.
Oh, gosh.
Honestly, I am completely shocked at this because I have been asking for details for months and they have yet to mention this. I am so shocked when they tell me this that I don't have much of a response in the moment. I tell them that I cannot afford to host 80 people at a venue, so we will definitely need to discuss further and find a way to compromise. When I am finally able to sort out my feelings about this, I feel hurt that my idea was not good enough for them, confused why they would wait so long to tell me, used as they think I should spend so much money on what is essentially a second wedding. I finally decide on a compromise. I text Tim, Brad, and Kim my proposal. I propose we throw 2 wedding showers, one for Tim's side and one for Brad's side. I say I will host Tim's shower at my house as planned, And then Brad has the freedom to plan his shower exactly as he wants it, since I cannot afford what he wants. In fact, this is what happened for my wedding, since my in-laws are a few hours away, and it worked out perfectly. I use this as an example. Brad says no. He insists on one shower as he has outlined it. He says it's very important to get our families together before the wedding. I am confused by this because they've been dating for years and the parents have met several times. I let him know I still cannot afford what he wants, so to let me know what him and his family plan. A few days later, Kim sends me a long text. First, she implies I've been stressing out Tim and Brad. She talks about how important it is to throw them the shower they deserve and how they deserve the best. Then you do it, Kim. You freaking do it. Easy. OP said very clearly, I can throw you guys an engagement shower, but it can't be the one that you want because I can't afford that. I simply don't have the money for that.
I think that's perfectly reasonable. If you're offering to pay or offering to like host a whole party, you can't just be like, okay, great. Can we like triple that amount? Like, that's crazy.
She says she is happy to reach out to some venues and set things up, and that her family is happy to pay for it all if the cost is the issue. Her text is condescending and pushy. At this point, I'm not even sure why I was asked to throw the shower in the first place. I was told my idea was not acceptable and that I did not need to plan or pay. So why did they even ask me? I reply to Kim, letting her know I'm not sure we are seeing the same situation here. I tell her some details of the situation that she may not have been told, which is how the whole wedding was planned in secret, and Tim is still unemployed without an income and has a significant student loan debt. So we're concerned about him far beyond planning an elaborate shower. I also tell her I would feel very uncomfortable not following the societal etiquette of throwing a wedding shower. For example, it's inappropriate to invite someone you know cannot attend because they will feel obligated to send a gift. I also express my confusion on why it is crucial for me to plan a massive event for this wedding shower when my family was disregarded during the entire wedding planning process. I tell her I love my brother and want to support him, but I will not be pushed around.
There you go.
Nice, OP. Stand up for yourself.
Boom.
I dropped out of my brother's wedding party because he and his fiancé disrespected me. Kim replies with yet another condescending message, disagreeing with everything I've said. Apparently, it's very normal to throw an 80-person wedding shower in their world. Her response suggests she completely disregarded every single concern I raised. She asks if I still want to help plan the shower, even though she has taken full control and disrespected me thoroughly. I also text Tim, just needing to express how I am feeling about all of this. I explain why I have made the decisions I have, how all of this has made me feel, and why their request is not what is considered normal for a wedding shower. Perhaps my text was snappy and a little bee, but I was at my wit's end with this situation. I start to feel like I am going crazy. They are completely insistent that this is normal. None of this seems normal to me, especially considering I had gone through the wedding planning process myself the previous year. And pausing a little bit before we get into the rest. You have any thoughts? Because a lot is going on here.
I'm not a fan of Brad here. Because that's classic signs of toxic.
Yeah, well, he's trying to isolate Tim from both his friends and now his family, like making them seem like the bad guy because they can't afford to help them throw a wedding shower.
And then just putting it on him and being like, well, you're stressing us now because you can't do this.
He's probably telling Tim like, wow, like your family won't do this for you. It's toxic of that. And then he's roping Kim into this. She's probably cut from the same cloth as Brad, and now she's like being all rude and stuff, and Opie's just trying to be there for her brother, who is not being considerate of any of this. What do you do? Or do you think that OP's kind of done everything that she can at this moment?
Maybe you can try to like talk to Tim in person alone with Tim and be like, hey, what's going on? Because all of this stuff is happening over text, which is like fine, but also there is a level of like, there's some things you just can't quite talk about the same way over text. And so just talking about any of this in person would be so much better.
And also there's no like guarantee that the person has read the text or will respond to the text. And also things can be misinterpreted over text.
Things can be like discussed between them before they even get back to you. And then it's like, wait, that's not what I'm talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So maybe like OP would text Tim and then Tim goes and talks to Brad and he's like, oh, I can't believe that.
I can't believe they're saying it this way.
Yeah. So I think just having all of these conversations in person, I think maybe OP's just like, oh, I don't want to stress him out, but it'll just make it worse if you don't have that conversation.
Yeah, they're going to be stressed out anyway. I hate to break it to you.
But there is more. Then comes the final nail in the coffin of this entire story. Kim sent our private text to her brother, despite implying that I was stressing them out. I guess causing drama isn't the same. The combination of that plus the text I sent Tim sent him over the edge. Tim writes me a scathing multi-page letter. His letter picked apart my text message to him line by line and refuted every claim I made. He starts it up by saying I clearly have a multitude of pent-up feelings about this. I'm confused because I've expressed my feelings many times, so I'm not sure how they're pent up. It seems he might be projecting, as he never expresses his feelings. His letter took my text word for word and disputed every claim. It almost read like a legal document, which is why just have these conversations in person. Any type of serious conversation should not be had over text.
I just know Brad is behind all this. He's the one picking apart these texts and being like, and what does she really mean by that? And it's just like, she's not trying anything malicious, Brad.
Some of his statements were, all wedding guests should be invited to the wedding shower so they can make their own decision to come or not. I planned the wedding shower with zero of their desires included. I asked them many times for requests. Exact cost of how much money I could have saved by using Kim or Brad's restaurant connections to book the venue. Why was I asked to plan the event? Our family's feelings have been hurt despite Brad's family doing their absolute best to appease us at every turn. And we have in turn slandered all their efforts. Brad's family has made no effort to understand our point of view or communicate any details on any front. That they told me I should have attended their engagement party for 30 minutes to say hi. They never once said this to me, and it was an hour drive each way. And OP had a wedding in less than a month. OP had a wedding in less than a month and said, hey, I'm not going to be able to come to this because you freaking scheduled it less than a month from my wedding, even though you promised you wouldn't.
Right.
Tim continues, I could have asked about wedding planning at any point and they would have told me. I asked about it every time I saw them. Brad is the only reason they still have a positive relationship with my family. Brad is the reason for all of this conflict, and this was very hurtful to me and my family. Having me as his maid of honor brings him despair. This broke my heart. My actions have shown no attempt at support or indication of love. I have tried to support my brother at every turn. I have been passive aggressive throughout the entire situation and never expressed my feelings. I have expressed my feelings at every opportunity. My family shows nothing but disinterest in his future, while Brad's family shows nothing but support and hope. My family has only ever wanted the best for Tim, and this was just beyond hurtful and insulting to our family who have been always so supportive. Tim and Brad are very direct people and wish we had shared our feelings. This is just incorrect. Not sure why they feel this way, but they are not direct. He also responded to one of my concerns about his status. He has a doctorate degree and now works a very menial part-time job that he does not enjoy, earning a few $100s a month. Their focus as a couple has been projects for Brad's house he owns, selling Brad's house, and moving. Brad also bought their new home, taking big vacations with Brad's family, and planning this big wedding. Tim's response is that they both had agreed that he'd do the housekeeping. They do not plan on having children. So he's just gonna clean the house. Why did you get a degree?
He wanted the degree. Brad didn't want him to get the degree. Brad didn't care about the degree because he was like, oh, sorry. You can fail all your finals so that we can get engaged. That's totally fine.
No, it's so clear that Brad is very manipulative because the fact that Tim is willing to throw away the 6 years that it took him to get this degree to be a house cleaner. This isn't a stay-at-home dad. This is a guy that's going to be at home occasionally cleaning. If there's 2 people at home, you don't have to spend all day cleaning. But you know what you guys should spend all day doing? Listening to full episodes with stories like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app and search up OK Storytime.
Just great.
And there is a little bit left, but do you have any final thoughts on this?
I'm just so sad for this situation because that kind of stuff is so hard to deal with because it's you really, as an observer of this, you really don't have that much control. And I don't know, abusive relationships are just hard in general. The fact that this has gone towards marriage is even harder to get yourself out of. It's just sad and it's upsetting. Has OP offered to just not do it anymore? Or is that what stressed them out?
I think OP was this is what I can do. Otherwise, you guys will have to kind of figure it out. They're oh, yeah, of course you can't do it. You don't love us.
Just get Tim alone. Talk to Tim alone in person, please. There's really no other way that those things end.
Everything that OP says or OP's family say to Tim, he's going to take back to Brad. And he's freaking report back to him and be this is what they said. And then Brad's going to be blah, 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 blah. They hate you. Blah, 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 blah. They're toxic.
Absolutely.
But there is a little bit left to this story. This letter was the grand finale of a wedding planning process that was not collaborative in any way. Even though I was asked to be the maid of honor, it was a litany of all that my family has done wrong and all that Brad and Tim have done right. Not only was there no room for discussion, it was explicitly said that this was the only time I will say any of this. Brad's sister said she would throw the wedding shower and invite everyone, whether I was involved or not. At this point, I gave up and said I was bowing out of this. I sent Tim a short text in response to the letter, expressing my heartbreak, and there has been no communication since. So, am I the a-hole? No.
No.
The only thing that I would have said, which we said before, is should have gone in person and had that conversation. I think just like going forward, any type of conversation that is this kind of deep and big topics needs to be had in person so that there's no miscommunication and that Tim can't go and show it to Brad.
Right. Because I think there's so many people, or there's so many like things in conversation, especially in conflicts like this, where it's like you can kind of tell like what someone means by it with their tone or context or whatever. But then people like that, they'll really pick it all apart and like see each little detail and then try to spin it in some way and on claiming it's some sort of like literal sense. And it's like, well, hang on. That's simply not how humans talk. Simply not how it works. So yeah, definitely not the a-hole.
No, not the a-hole. I think all you can do is kind of express like, hey, I love you. This is a lot and I can't be at your wedding. But like whenever you need me, I will be here. And like your family who loves you will be here. This has been really hard on me. I feel like I've been disrespected and leave it at that. But that is the end of that story.